Welcome back to Perf Damage.
Welcome.
This is the show where we dive into the deep histories of Hollywood.
And we talk about film restoration or people who work in the archive, which is
what we're doing today.
That's right. We have a guest who works with me at Paramount in the physical archive. He's our guy who finds everything.
He's the ace. When you need something found, he's the guy you bring in.
That's right. So anytime we are doing a director's cut, anytime we're looking for lost footage, things like that, he's the guy.
Jeffrey Osmer.
Jeffrey Osmer, that's right. We've shown pictures of him before on the show. He's found stuff for The Godfather. He's found stuff for...
Oh, like what are we talking about today? Let's
Star Trek, the motion picture. Where you
finally, guys, finally, we are addressing it.
We're also going to talk about an erotic thriller.
Ooh.
Jade.
Do tell.
That's right. We found some footage for Jade recently. Not only did we find footage, but it was a little awkward.
little fun. A little fun.
Awkward. Felt like we worked in the San Fernando Valley. And if you're familiar with Los Angeles, you'll know what that means. And if you're not, you'll know what that means very soon. So if you want to hear a little bit about how physical archiving works, about how finding stuff for director's cuts,
alternate
or lost
versions,
yeah, that kind of
lost
stuff. Like
footage.
how exactly that works. What does that mean when someone says we found additional footage?
Right.
You're going to learn that today. So if you want to hear more about that,
stay tuned. Oh no, not again. Hey, movie lovers, I'm Adam.
And I'm Charlotte.
And welcome to Perf Damage.
We're a movie-obsessed husband and wife team who work in the film industry. I oversee film restoration at the oldest studio in Hollywood.
And I bring the inside track from film development and production. And we love to explore the hidden tales of movies past and present.
So join us for a cinematic journey like no other.
From classic gems to examining the art of the double feature. This is Perf Damage.
Popcorn popped, wine at the ready. Let's press play.
So let's introduce our guest today.
Yes, our guest.
Jeffrey Osmer.
Jeffrey Osmer,
Hello.
welcome.
Jeffrey, why don't you tell everybody what you do? What is your actual title?
I am a film librarian at Paramount Pictures.
Librarian.
I am a librarian.
So you check out film?
I like books. No, it's the big warehouse of all the old movies. It's all the bits and pieces that make up any film. And then years past, it would be all the assets that were created to service downstream as well.
And how long have you done that?
Oh Lord, I've been in my current position for I think 11 years now, and then 17 years at another studio.
What studio was that?
That was 20th Century Fox.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so two great studios. Two old school OG.
So you've got to play in multiple libraries. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and Jeffrey's really our guy that is known for finding the needles in a haystack. So if you need something found, this is the guy you go to.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people don't know this, that there are people that work specifically with the archive, with the actual physical assets of the archive.
People don't know that?
I don't think that people know that that's part of the whole process. When we say, hey, you're finding things, they don't realize that there are people that work in the archive that actually go in and physically handle these things. No? Is that not a thing?
I don't know. I feel like people know that.
Really? I feel like people don't know.
I don't feel like people really understand that.
I feel like our listeners are smart enough to know that. But
that
maybe, yes. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, when some company releases a new video and they're like, oh, we found, this scene that had never been seen before and we're going to include it on this release. Well, it's not the company releasing that generally finds that. It is the representative from Paramount that works with the library that finds that.
Right.
All right, so Jeffrey, first question.
Okay.
How did you become a librarian? How does that happen?
It's an interesting thing because these archives weren't considered really archives even when I started. They were the warehouses for all these assets. And it was almost a warehouse job. It wasn't necessarily this librarian archive job. And until preservation really comes around in the 90s, that really puts the focus on the long-term curating of these collections. And so I came to it by way of post-production editorial. I was working at 20th Century Fox. An opening came in, available in their archive, and I was fortunate enough to get that full-time gig at the studio. And so that was great. But like I say, there was a lot of warehousing back then. And it sort of migrated to being this idea of really being a librarian. And now, for like our digital archives and stuff, folks will come to us as with degrees in library sciences and such. But you would have come to it years ago through post-production editorial, through the film labs. A lot of people came through like Deluxe Labs or such, into these quote-unquote warehouse jobs.
So by warehouse job, you mean just kind of moving boxes around? And
Absolutely. You thought of as like a flunky who could pull stuff off a shelf, right? And
Yeah.
even then, though, it wasn't that. It was more than that. It was always more than that.
I think when people think of film, they don't think of all of the actual physical assets that are created in the making of film.
Absolutely. I mean, any feature film you watch, there's probably a 10-to-1 or better ratio of content that was recorded versus what's in the final theatrical release. And then you have all the alternate versions of films, TV versions, airline versions, director's cuts, things like that. And all of those mean sourcing from that larger inventory.
And creating new assets at the end, right?
Absolutely.
And there's all the audio too that goes along with that.
Yeah.
There's so much pallets and pallets of actual physical assets that you have to archive.
Yeah, more recent films, for Paramount, Babylon shot a million linear feet of film. Titanic is 1 million feet of film.
Wow.
And so Titanic's 20,000 feet of projected film, but 1 million feet of film that you have to sort through to find any alternates and that's what we get called for so often is this value-added footage. And the Addams Family with the Mamushka dance scene that we have the original cut work picture on, and it's a great scene, and the studio had cut it down for the theatrical release, and it's on the Blu-ray, I believe. So.
Yeah, they actually cut that back into the feature, which is cool.
It's a great scene. It's a great, like, it should be the 3-minute length. It should, the minute and a half is cute, but the 3-minute is amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people write in and want to know about Star Trek the Motion Picture and the restoration of that. And I know that you, in particular, were very, very vital to that restoration. And that was one of the major reasons we wanted to have you on, so we could put you in the hot seat.
I feel like this is going to be such a hot seat, too, because I feel like my part is so small in so many ways, especially with Star Trek. But
Let's talk about what your role in that was. These people come to you and they're like, hey, we have these scenes that weren't included. We need to find the original negative on them.
how does it work?
How does it work? Yeah, how does that work?
well, I think that's even that was
That's probably too far along. Or?
well, because it's we need the original negative on this. People are just like, hey, we need this, and they don't even know what they need essentially when it comes to the actual technical spec of the film and such. And they'll often just give us a screen grab, an image. And so that's challenging because they're just like, here's a picture of Russell Crowe. And you're like, well, I need a scene, I need a take number. And they're like, he's in the Coliseum in Gladiator. And you're like, well, yeah, he's in the Coliseum.
About half the
all of
movie.
Yeah. And so, and that's often where it starts. In the case of Star Trek, we don't have the majority of the editorial units. Many studios would just unceremoniously get rid of all that stuff, the stuff you didn't need after the theatrical release. And so that immediately is just like, well, this project just stops dead right in the water. We don't have anything, except we have all these visual effects holdouts. And for whichever reason, they were all separated from that larger editorial inventory. And so in that case, we do have a couple hundred cartons of 65, 70 millimeter assets that were used to create the original visual effects. And as we were remastering that, we knew we were going to be enhancing the visual effects. And so this was a gold mine of having these visual effects cans. And so that was sort of amazing because that was really the starting point.
I think a title like Star Trek is difficult because it has been accessed a lot. So we've got all of these cartons. You've got the paperwork carton. So this has your your code book, your log book, all of the information that would help us find the material we're looking for, that would have the key numbers for the shots that we're looking for, which we'll get into that in a little bit, but would have all the little clues to where we need to go, to what box we need to go, to what can we need to go to find what little roll that's going to have that little piece of film that we're looking for.
Right.
All of this stuff has been accessed before, not only because it's a popular film. People have retransferred this. It had transfer in the 90s, and then it had the director's cut that came out in the early 2000s,
Right.
and then it had another HD transfer in, a little bit later. So it's been gone through a couple times.
Right, but on top of that, it's also a franchise,
sequels.
right?
Exactly.
Yes, right.
So it's been, so you have that. And the reason why that makes it more complicated is because they say, hey, we created footage for a ship or a spaceship, a space station that we want to use now in part 3 that we made in part 1. Let's go into the inventory for part 1, grab that, use it for part 3 or whatever.
Right. To save money so they don't have to recreate it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But does that then go back into part 1, or does that now stay with part 3?
Right.
Now, if we're looking at part 1, do we know that was necessarily accessed for part 3, and is now that in the part 3 inventory? Is that in part 1?
Right.
Did
Is
they
there
leave
a note
did
that
they leave us
says,
a note?
Is there a trail, right?
Yeah,
Like breadcrumbs?
So you got to understand, so a series like this, finding stuff is really difficult.
Right.
And all of your notes and stuff like that, they're all handwritten too. And sometimes, especially with this inventory, there were several boxes of paperwork, and I swear it was like somebody had opened all of these boxes, dumped them all out, and then tossed them up, and then just caught them in all the boxes and then put the lids on. I swear that's the last person that accessed them. That's what they did.
Yep.
Because the first thing I had to do was go through and try to organize and put these things back together, because stuff it made no sense how some of these things were in different boxes together. And I'm sure that's pretty common.
That's absolutely the most common. Right?
Yeah.
Like that because people are
Half's
working with
there,
this stuff.
half's there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's trying to get back into the mindset of whether it's the original filmmakers or whether it's somebody that was working on a project 10 years later. You're trying to, it's like a time machine. You're starting to go back and try to figure out the mindset of what was going on, what was happening, why is this laid out the way it is. And it's challenging because you feel like everything's missing. You feel like this is just, a wild goose chase, that this thing doesn't exist. And a lot of times these are myths too, right? These are things that...
Well, that's another thing. Just because someone says, I know this shot exists, or I know that we did this, that doesn't necessarily mean that it does exist.
Yeah, a lot of rumors on the internet come to you, right? Like they're like, oh, well, I know there's an alternate cut of this film that exists because someone on the internet said it.
Can you believe what asses these people at Paramount are for not releasing this version?
Right,
And we're just like, hey, look, nothing exists.
Yeah, that does not actually exist. Yeah.
The one exception are the filmmakers themselves. They know, and that trips me out, that they know that 40 years ago, there was this camera move on this take, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing because you understand that's part of their artistic process. And so there's a lot of sort of red herrings and moving parts and misinformation that are all challenges, along with just this ginormous inventory of assets.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool though too, because it's like a time capsule, right? Like all of this stuff is just like preserved in these boxes from that time period, that moment.
That's why even when you find these boxes that it looks like someone just threw it up, put it back in there, you can't get mad because you don't know why it was like that.
Exactly.
Because we know when we're looking for something, everybody's yelling at us, hurry up, finish that, get on to the next thing. So, you just never know what the person, had going against them or what kind of time they had. So we never get upset about it.
No, you can't.
So with Star Trek, we worked with a production company that was pretty good about knowing some of the stuff that they wanted, or a lot of the stuff that they wanted.
Right, they'd worked on the director's cut in the...
Say, hey, we want this scene with Scotty talking to a lassie, which he calls this woman a lass.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was like, Lassie?
Not Lassie,
I don't
like the
remember
dog.
Lassie in that film, do you?
Lass. He calls her Lassie. So they ask for this scene. So I find what the scene number is. I look at a script that has the scene numbers. I find it. We're looking for this scene. But then I find this piece of paper that says that the scene numbers don't match the slate numbers. Great. So that means once I find in the code book and in the log books where I find, this number, this here's the scene number, and I find the keys for, where I need to go find this blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily know that I found the right thing until I look at the film, because these things don't match.
So
Anyways.
Can you explain what a code book is? Or can you explain what a code book is
Yes.
to people? Because, I mean, we're using terminology now.
I know.
With any show, there's any number of paperwork assets that come in. There's sound reports, the sound recordist on set. There's lab reports, camera reports, lab reports of the laboratory developing the film, camera reports of the camera crew noting what was recorded that day. But the two sort of go-to for my world, and I think the post-production editorial world, are a line script and a code book. And the line script is to me the Bible. And so it's literally the shooting script with lines drawn through it. Quite literally, you're drawing a line through. We're saying, oh, this is 34 Apple take 1. We're recording. And there may be a little squiggle and break in the action some reason, and you continue on, and the shot ends here. And if you're reading the screenplay, you can see what action is happening within that take. And then on a facing page, script supervisor has noted things like the runtime, the cameras used, if it's multi-camera setup, A camera, B camera, C camera, director's preference, sound rolls that correspond to the camera rolls. And they'll have the number of times this was filmed, so how many takes. So this scene has been filmed 6 times, but only 3 of them are circled. So like say take 2, take 3, and take 6 are the only ones circled, and that indicates those are the only ones that the laboratory should print, meaning those are the only ones the editors should even consider to look at. Those other takes were so bad that we shouldn't even consider them for the final cut.
Or they were incomplete. Or
incomplete, a plane flew over, ruined the take, anything like that. Camera, piece of lighting fell down, something, whatever. And so that's a real Bible. And without this line script, I can't start that search that Charlotte was just mentioning. And the other is a code book. And a code book's basically like an Excel spreadsheet, but in longhand. And again, it'll tell you the scene, the take number, the day shot, the camera roll, lab roll, and then code numbers, which are numbers that the editorial team embeds on the edge of the positive print dailies. So they get the dailies from the laboratory in the morning. They put the rolls on an Acme coding machine, and they'll start their numbering sequence. So something like day 1, 001, first 1,000 feet, 1,000. So 001, 1,000. The machine lays down a number on the edge of the film every foot. So when you start chopping those pieces up and you have 3 feet of film, you know where the hell that came from.
Oh, wow.
So there's those 2 books, the line script and the code book are really sort of the go-to. If we have those, we have a starting point.
Yeah.
Yes. And you'll note things as well. And like you're saying about how these slates aren't matched. It may be noted in the code book, things like tail slates. If camera starts rolling and they start the action without having the slate, they'll do the slate at the tail, they'll flip the slate upside down and say, okay, tail slate. So it's at the end of the shot. Mm-hmm. And these are all kind of things that sort of, hopefully they've been noted, because now you're looking for the scene, the take, and the first thing you do is look at the very beginning of the scene.
And there's no
slate to tell you anything.
Yeah.
If somebody noted that it's a TS, a tail slate, you're like, wind this down, and I'll know what scene and take this is.
So on Star Trek, I mean, they would come to us and they would say, can you find a shot? And they were pretty good about knowing where certain things were, but there was a note that I found in the paperwork that said that the code, or that the slate numbers that are on, the film when they come up with the slate, has a number on it that matches the script, which says this is the scene, right? But there was a note that said that the scene numbers on the script don't necessarily match the slate numbers. So why is that important? Well, that's important because when we're looking through the code books, which will help us actually find in the inventory where that piece of film is, if the slate numbers don't match, like that's going to be hard for us to actually find where that material is.
Right. So you're going to have to kind of expand your range of searching, right?
Exactly.
You're like, okay, well, these probably happened this day, so let's look at all of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be in there, right?
12, take 4. So, okay, so if we go through this code, we go through this log book, whatever, we find this, we know it's probably in this box, in this can, whatever. But by this note, we knew, okay, it might not actually be there. So now we got to find scene 12, we got to find scene 11, 10, maybe 13, 14 after that. So we had to expand our search.
So basically it was a free for all at that point, right?
Yeah, it was great. So by the end of this, I mean, we did find it. We found Scott in the last, Scotty, but we ended up going through, I think it was 175 cartons, and a carton can be a big box.
Yeah, 12 by 12 by 15. We'll hold 10, rolls,
we
10
went
1,000
through-
foot rolls.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we scanned, how much was it? I have the notes here. 800 cans. 800 cans of film is what we went through. And we had 2.5 million frames of film scanned.
Wow. Wow.
This is just trims. This is not the feature. That's how much we had scanned. And this is 65 millimeter. This is VistaVision. This is regular 35. So this is all in search of all of the pieces that were made to do the director's cut, to redo some of the effects, that sort of thing. That's what all we looked through to redo Star Trek, the motion picture, the director's edition, and the TV version.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeffrey, I know of a project that you guys were working on recently that was maybe a little uncomfortable for some of the people working in the, just the subject matter and the actual things that you were searching for.
Do you bleep stuff out? I hope.
This one's just going to be beep, beep,
Yeah,
beep,
this
beep,
is
beep.
a series of, I don't
You
know
were
that.
talking about Jade.
Yes, Jade, the film Jade, the erotic thriller.
We got a request because it had been licensed to a third party, and they were interested in doing the director's cut. So there are
We can
many
say
versions.
we can say Skinamax.
There are many versions of this film, and they
There's no
wanted.
virgins in this.
There's
film, by the
definitely
way.
no So Charlotte's referring to the Vinegar Syndrome release. They're the third party.
Yeah. I was trying not to give away names.
Well, come
but okay.
on. It's in,
Yeah.
they're putting
Yes.
out in glorious 4K for everybody to see all of the wonderful erotic thrillingness of it.
Yes, it has not been done before. So they came to us and they said, "Can you find the footage, the original negative for these sections?" This had actually been licensed by several people before. Several companies, I'm not going to name them all, had licensed it and then actually dropped the license because other people had attempted to look for it, and those people hadn't been these
With
two.
this team, the super team over here, right?
These two weirdos decided to start looking for it.
Well, once you saw what the content was, you were just like all in on that.
I don't know why we decided
Well,
to.
look, everybody's all in on this movie.
They were all in.
So Jade.
All right,
First
so-
off, it's a Billy Friedkin film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Joe
Yep.
Esterhaus
Got paid famously $1 million for an 8-page treatment on this. That was the highest sale at the time.
So as you mentioned, this has been licensed multiple times. Again, we're dealing with a couple hundred cartons, large inventory cartons. The negative team would box up their section, the picture editorial would box up their section, and they would quantify it. This carton contains day 1 through day 5, or lab roll 99 through 130, or some way, but just a general broad term of this is what the contents of this carton are. And of course, when you need that shot, and you're like, this is easy peasy because I'm going to go to that carton, open that carton, dig through it, find the asset I need, and we're done. Wipe our hands of this, and we're all good. Except you you bring that carton in. First off, deep storage, way outside of Los Angeles. Hundreds of cartons you have to bring in what you think you need, and you open that carton, and it's not there. And this gets into the whole idea of what you're talking about, these editorial units that have been handled for years.
There's multiple virgins.
Oh, there's my outtake right there.
No. Multiple versions of this film. So again, this is inventory that had been used and accessed multiple times.
Well, we got to talk about living archive, right? Like you are a living archive.
Exactly.
Like these things are reassessed, repurposed, reaccessed all the time. And so
and so people pull stuff out, they use it, and then maybe it doesn't go back into the box that they got it from. And it's not on purpose.
No,
it's
just generally like good intent.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I'm going to keep this out and put it somewhere else so that when they need it in the future, it'll be separate from all of that, right?
And that's something we do.
Yeah.
We do that now. We'll do that with our line scripts. In the case of Jade, we do have the original pen and ink code book and the original pen and ink line script, and purposely separate those out because they're truly artifacts to the movie, and we'll try to tag them. Part of my job as a librarian is hopefully I'm identifying those assets a little bit better as well, and calling them out as like, hey, do not use these. without permission. Don't ever throw these out. Trying to make these sort of notations in their library records and such, in our library records. But that's a very common, it's a not uncommon thing. But in years past, I don't think that documentation was as robust as we have now. And that, again, not to put people down, inventory systems that weren't as robust.
Right.
We couldn't attach a PDF to a record on our legacy inventory system. Now I can attach an entire email chain to a record that'll reference back why X happened to Y or whatever.
Yeah, and then like systems change too over decades, right? And so
metadata
when you migrate it, you always lose something.
Yep.
Like some things are just lost to time because of that. So, yeah.
But to get back into the salaciousness of Jade, Charlotte came to me.
No. Here's the fun part. I come in with my laptop. I had been looking for this footage, and I'd been staring at this footage for like a week of very erotic footage. And I'd been trying to find it. I couldn't find it. I didn't want to go bother Jeffrey. I knew he could find it, but I'm like, he's looking for all this other stuff. I know he's busy.
Well, you exhaust all avenues until you have to pull the ace in, right?
Yeah,
is that what it is? Like you don't want to take up too much of the ace's time.
But I knew I was gonna have to bring the ace in.
Yep.
So, but by the time I went to find the ace, I looked at this erotic footage for so long that it meant nothing to me anymore, right? And I mean, we're talking erotic footage here, guys. So erotic. I don't think we can.
We can't put it on our on the YouTube channel. This is not happening.
Yeah, I mean, if this was an OnlyFans thing, maybe, but this is YouTube, so we're not charging for this footage. Anyway, so I go into his office, and I've got this footage, and I'm trying to explain, like, I'm looking for this footage, and blah 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 blah. And I show him this thing, and I'm like, I found like this part of the footage, but I need to find this part of the footage, and if you get what I'm saying here, and I'm showing it to him,
she just shoves it in his face, right?
Just very matter of fact. His face just gets so red, and he's just at a loss for words, and he can't talk. And I've never seen Jeffrey this way before. He doesn't get embarrassed or
it's not. And again, I'm certainly privy.
Oh, look, it's PTSD.
It's two things. One, we work on these films, and our world is, we know we can be watching content that is uncensored. We could be seeing stuff behind the scenes. We could seeing stuff that can be very rough for some audiences. And this footage was, and as Charlotte says, shoving it in my face.
We'll give you a clue to what scene we're talking about
as to what our lead female and
if you watch the footage, that's a clue to what the shot was.
And so it's very graphic, and you're just having your coffee in the morning, and you're like, oh, and I'm not going to be one to sort of try to rethink in my brain, because my brain unfortunately doesn't work that way. Try to make it all PC or I shouldn't say even PC, make it G-rated. So as we're talking, Charlotte just comes to me, explains the shots. We now have spreadsheets.
Very matter of fact about it.
And so after my initial shock, but then 2 days later, I recall, and I'm going to say it out loud the way I recall it, where I'm like, hey, Charlotte, I think I found the shot where where she's getting, where she's shoving, where he, and Charlotte says, no, she shoved, and so Charlotte's like, yes, and so this is our conversation. Now, this is how we're now this low in our day-to-day routine, and it's just what you're doing. It's not that you're trying to be salacious or anything, and now you're into this crazy ass search for quite literally extending shots of this. Some of it's just an extension of a shot, right? Like some of these are not,
like, to a gratuitous degree too. In that version, it's just like, wow, is this ever going to end? Like, why is this happening for this long?
and that's our job.
Yep. Yay!
Oh, this is why nobody was searching for this footage.
That's why they gave up the search.
There are people, but that guy no longer works there. So it's and so there's 4 different versions of the film. So there's an international version, a domestic version, a TV version, and this director's cut. And the director's cut was the one that had been licensed multiple times and had yet to come to fruition. And so this was our search. And so there's some alternate shots, right? Just fully replaced scenes and stuff. But then some of them were just...
The director's one was the television one, and that's what was confusing.
Absolutely.
But then we found out the television version was on Cinemax, and then it all made sense.
Yeah. Yes, because again, in the large inventory, the end result was getting to cans of assets that are labeled TV version, which was complete red herring, right? Because clearly...
Usually a television version is censored.
It's fully censored.
Right. So it's opposite of what you guys expected to be in there. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what was crazy about this one. The stuff that we ended up finding that ended up being what we needed was in this TV version, and once we found out that it was the Cinemax,
that's completely contrary to the way it normally would be, right?
Yeah.
So once you found that out, that was kind of your key, right?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a...
Yeah, but that was a long road.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it was a very long road to get there. And in one of the boxes, just on the bottom of the carton, was a Post-it note, and it read, "John, Bill Manger brought this by for you. It's the scene where Crusoe opens up the little canisters with the pubic hair." That's it. That's the Post-it note.
That's pretty much like on par with everything that you guys had to handle for Jade. I love it. I'm
going to frame that little Post-it note and keep it forever.
Should.
I am absolutely doing that.
Well, the good news is that you guys now have the extra raunchy version of Jade available for future people to license after Vinegar Syndrome. It's now available in 4K for everybody everywhere.
Yep. We found all that footage for them so they could put
did
it
all
back
the
in
work.
there.
Yeah.
So they could...
It'll probably be months after this has all been released again and everything before we'll fully wrap it up. And I think that's something people don't understand as part of the larger work that goes into this. It's one thing to go into those 100 cartons to find this footage, but we have to essentially re-inventory it and then put it away again. And this is, everybody gets excited when it's found, but I'm the one guy who's, I still have to put this all away.
I know. I think that's the one thing, like, people assume that, like, a Vinegar Syndrome or a Kino or whoever, they think that they're coming into the archive and that they're finding it.
Right.
No, it's Jeffrey that's going through the boxes finding it.
Yeah, it's not. You're not opening your archives to a third party to let them go and search through things. That is not happening.
No. They send an email.
Yeah.
And then we take that and then we go and we run with it.
I think it's important for people to know that, though.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of times the press releases make it sound as if they dived into the archive and they were the ones that found this stuff. But it's not. It's the hard work of the people that work at the studios that pays off for them. You know, and we're happy because if they weren't asking for it, then you guys wouldn't have been able to spend the time to actually put this back together.
No, and I mean...
And thank God, because we all need Jade in our lives, right?
We were being asked to stop looking for it.
Right.
A lot. But it became sort of a...
Well, the super team here couldn't let it go.
It definitely becomes an obsession. And that's part of why I have the needle in the haystack award is the obsession compulsive disorder, whatever of it. You have to have this pit bull mentality when you go deep on these projects.
Right.
Yeah. You just get too far into it and you find some of it, but you're not going to find all of it. No, you're going to...
And that's just it. So, you know, it's just it. It's like, well, you say, don't bother with this. It's too much work. It's like, well, I'm already in this waist deep.
I understand it. And
I've already done so much work, and it's going to take so much work just to put this back now at this loss. Had you said that when we were 10% in, we could say, okay, wash our hands of it and we'll deal with that another day. You know, but at a point, there is no going back. It's really a steamrolling effect, and you can't just, I think that's a misconception too. Oh, just put it, refile everything, just put it back in the warehouse, whatever. It's like, it's just not that simple. You don't want to be those people who put this back in worse order than you found it.
Right.
Yeah, that's sort of a mandate of our job, is to try to make this better for future generations. And if we stop a project midway and just haphazardly
toss it
all back, and then we're getting cursed just years from now. So.
Right, and now they have something that they can monetize in the future, right? Like your work made this something that's viable for the future, which is ultimately what you guys are all there for.
And I got to tell you, we have our VIP tours come through the archive. It's amazing. Love to see the folks on the tours and everything. I like to talk to them at times. And one of the things I always find really interesting is, we have Forrest Gump, we have The Godfather. There's always people that are impressed with, seeing those.
And they're all asking for Jade?
And they're all asking for Jade.
No. David Caruso's jacket.
I forget how much movies mean to people. People will come in like, oh my God, Friday the 13th, Part 7. It's my favorite movie ever. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about?
And you're like, why?
But to the point, you dig a little further. And because my father and I went to the drive-in and saw that the year he passed, and you're like, oh my God, these movies are capture a moment of our lives, and we can sit here and make fun and be jaded about Jade, but the truth is that these mean so much, not just to us in here, but to everybody. And
no, and that's every movie is somebody's favorite movie. That's what we say.
That's one of our catchphrases.
That's what we try to.
Yes.
You try to do it justice.
Absolutely.
Well, and
you shouldn't.
What it is. And as an archivist, you shouldn't treat Jade any different than you treat The Godfather, honestly, because it's a movie that you maybe not The Godfather, but
Yeah,
we
get what you're saying.
Yeah. But what we're saying is that they should all be equivalent, and they should all be treated on a level plane, because like you said, someone's favorite movie is Jade.
Yes, absolutely.
And especially the raunchier version.
So we do also have a little video that we put together as part of a little series for the archive where Jeffrey talks about finding footage for Zoolander, which I think we're going to play right now.
We were tasked with finding a bunch of shots for this end credit sequence of Zoolander. The director never got to complete the film to his original vision, which was to have this dance sequence and the end credits. So they give us screenshots, just screenshots. No key numbers, no shoot days, no lab rolls, no nothing. And it's about 60 to 70 shots that they're looking for. So as we're finding stuff, they come in about halfway and say, oh, by the way, and we also want you to find the shot of the New York City skyline with the Twin Towers in it. And if you think back, this is going back to 2001 when the theatrical release of this film, which means it was captured on film, it was recorded on film in the spring and summer of 2001. And when it was released, it was after 9/11 happened. Images of the New York City skyline no longer had the Twin Towers in them, even though the images that they captured for this film did have the Twin Towers in it. So now we're tasked with finding this odd shot, this 5-second shot that is of the New York City skyline. Fast forward to 2015, and they want to put in the original shot, but with the Twin Towers in there. And it's not in the cartons where it should be. And we keep looking and keep looking. As we're going through this process, we get to a point where I'm just at a crossroads. I don't know where to look any further, except to pull in paperwork from the visual effects team to see if any of the lab slips maybe indicate where the work was done, and maybe somehow that'll equate back where I should be looking. So I pull in the box and I'm looking through these lab slips, so it's much like tax time. You're looking through receipts and receipts and receipts, and our supervisor Chuck comes by, and there's one lone piece of loose film in this box of paperwork, and he picks that up and holds it up to the light, and he's like, oh, this is the shot. Just loosely thrown into a box of paperwork, not anywhere within the trim's inventory where it should be. And just by happenstance, by pulling in visual effects paperwork, did we find the shot. So now if you watch the Blu-ray, you'll see the 5-second shot fly by on screen in the blink of an eye.
You gotta get your talkers back here.
And that's it.
It's important to me, though, on a personal level. We talk about the idea of these movies hitting us in different ways. And I grew up an hour north of New York City. I went to school at School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. And I'm very familiar with seeing the Twin Towers in real life. And seeing, even going to a point where I flew back shortly after 9/11, and seeing them in my mind's eye landing at Newark, but seeing them not there, but visually in registering that they should be there. and to have them back is a good moment for me.
Well, thanks, Jeffrey, for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been a great pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. We had way more to talk about that we didn't even
Yeah,
talk
I
about.
knew this was going to be a good one, though. Like, I knew this was going to be like a wonderful, wonderful moment.
The studio audience, yes.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
It's. I think we all love what we do. I think we feel very privileged. I feel very privileged to do what I do, in particular working both my time at Fox and my time at Paramount. I can't picture two better studios in my career. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see the future of Paramount Pictures.
Yeah, if you come to the archive on a tour, you'll probably see Jeffrey.
Yeah.
True.
Yep.
Yeah. He often talks to you.
Yeah, he'll even talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm on break when I do that, just so you know.
All right. Well, I guess until next time, thanks for joining us here
On Perf Damage.
No, it's just it just ended on like a really poignant moment.
I know.
Man.
I don't think
We don't usually have
way.
poignant moments like that on our show.
Damn,
We're always like,
Jeffrey.
let's make stupid jokes and talking.
I know, especially after joking around about Jade.
Yeah.
How do we go from Jade to that?
Wow. Dang, you just like that's like
So many layers.
our Oscar. That's our Oscar moment right there.
know.
Wow.